Hello, Abnormal Family. Got a drop for you on this Friday. Don't forget, tonight we're doing the fundraiser for Hunter. It will be tonight at 8:30, I believe, Central Standard Time. I believe it's 8:30. It could be 8, but I believe it's 8:30. So we're going to be doing the fundraiser for him. This will be my mom's first and only time to come on to talk about her moms and my grannies, of what happened. A lot of y'all wanted this for a long time, and she decided now's the time to do it. So come and join us tonight. And don't forget, if you are a member of our YouTube page, you can get an emoji that's a Support Hunter emoji that has his name in red. And also you can join our Patreon and get extra access to information that we've been sharing. So let's move on to the encounter. Excuse me. This happened about 2 weeks ago, and I'm still terrified as I write this. For those of you who haven't read my story, it is a very, very freakish encounter. My dad has a cabin in northern West Virginia, a couple of counties over from Point Pleasant. Now, my husband and I had an experience a couple of years ago that scared us so badly that we have refused to go back to that place. Well, my dad lets one of his buddies that lives in town grow Christmas trees on his property because it's farmland, but my dad doesn't farm the land. He just uses the cabin as a getaway for hunting. When his buddy goes to harvest the trees, my dad goes up to help out, and in return gets however many trees he wants. My stepmom usually is always by his side, but she had came down with a brutal type of flu and couldn't go this time. My dad asked if my husband and I would go this trip and help out, but we refused at first. Then I got to thinking and feeling guilty because my dad isn't in the best of health anymore. When my 19-year-old brother passed away, it completely destroyed him, and he had a light heart attack, and since then his heart isn't the best. Well, I talked it over with my husband, and he said it was up to me. I called my mom to see if she could keep our kids for the weekend, and she said yes. I called my dad and told him we would be going to help. He was really happy about that. You could tell. That night I took the kids to Mom's, packed and loaded our gear with my own pistol and my trusty .22 rifle. I have other guns, but my .22 is light, and it never failed me yet. My husband also packed his pistol and rifle. We were going prepared this time just in case anything happened. The next morning, we met Dad and set out on our journey up north. 5 hours of driving, we finally come to the dirt road to turn off, and I will admit my stomach sank as I started to sweat. I could tell my husband Neil was feeling scared too. We get to the cabin, unpack our things, and we change into warmer clothes and put coveralls over them. I load my pistol and place it inside the holster in my side, and load my rifle and sling it over my shoulder. This is a normal thing to do at the cabin when you're going into the woods because of all the wild animals. I could handle any animal. It was the thing from the night that I was worried about. We go outside, set out on the ATVs. The Christmas trees was on the other side of the property. When we get there, we notice my dad's buddy isn't there yet, and I ask if he called him before we left the cabin, at which he hangs his head and says no. I tell Dad, go back and call him. What time will we meet here, just in case someone shows up? He agrees and sets out back towards the cabin. We're left alone in the middle of the Christmas tree forest. I get off the ATV to stretch my legs, and Neil needs to use the bathroom, so he goes a little ways away to do that. As I'm standing there, I notice everything is quite dead. And everything's dead quiet. No birds, no insects, no nothing, not even the wind is blowing. I get this sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, and it feels like I'm being watched. My heart was in my throat, and I was getting so nervous. I was starting to shake. I yelled for Neil, and nothing. I walked a little in the direction he went and yelled for him again. Nothing still. At this point, I knew something wasn't right. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw something moving among the trees. I stopped, and I stood still as I could. The quiet was deafening. I heard the trees behind me move, and I turned to look, and all I saw was a tall, shadowy figure moving beyond the pine trees. I was beyond scared, and I screamed Neil's name once more, but he still didn't answer me. I ran for the ATV, got on it, geared down to start it, reached for the key, but there was only air. I looked down to find the key in the starter. No key. He must have took it. My stomach sank. Neil must have taken it with him. I knew how to hotwire it, but my hands were shaking so badly, and the time it would not take me to hotwire this thing, something could already be up on me by the time I would do that. My heart was beating like a wild drum, and I looked deep, and I don't see him, and I take a deep breath, knowing I had no choices. One, I could go into the woods and look for Neil, and risk coming in contact with whatever that shadow was, or I could set off on foot back toward the cabin to get my dad. My mind was racing. My choice was made. I was going to walk back to the cabin to get my dad, and then we could come look for Neil. I hopped off the ATV and took a step toward the way back to the cabin, and then I heard it. A faint, "Help me." It was coming from the forest. Tears started streaming down my face, and I turned and started to run toward Neil's voice. I screamed at Neil to keep yelling so I could find him. I was running, and branches were slapping me in the face and my body, but I didn't dare slow down. I could hear he was getting close because his voice was growing louder. I kept running toward him. "Help me." Then I found him. He was sitting against a tree with blood streaming down his face. I ran to him and asked him what happened. Neil said something big hit him. And that was all he remembered. He had blacked out. I was at a loss. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew we couldn't stay in these woods. I told Neil, "I'm going to help you up and we're going to get the hell out of here." Finally, after a few minutes of pulling and lifting, I got him to his feet. We started walking slowly back through the woods to the ATV. Then we heard it. Something running through the trees. We looked at each other and tried to move faster. We kept going, still hearing that this thing is going right behind us. We made it to the forest clearing, and we could see the ATV. Neil said to lean him against one of the trees and go get the ATV. I did as he said. I ran to the ATV. I looked up and saw a huge thing standing at least 7 feet tall, and it had hair everywhere. It looked down at me with its hell-colored red ambers. I was so terrified that I couldn't move at all. All I could do was stare at this thing. And this thing had wings. Yes, guys, it had wings. Black wings that went all the way down to the ground. Neil screamed at me, and I awoke from my shock, and my mind was blank. I moved around the creature and made a mad dash towards the ATV. I was almost there until something grabbed my shoulder. I looked and saw this huge claw-like talons, and then I was thrown backwards into a huge pile of pine trees. Before I passed out, I heard him ring out. And as the shot rang out, then another and then another, but total darkness. I awoke some time later and found myself laying in the bed at the cabin. I tried to move, but everything was hurt, and my dad came into the room. He looked at me and said, "Don't move, young'un, or you will hurt yourself." I didn't seem to be hurt too bad. I looked at Dad and asked what happened. He said, "As I was running toward the ATV, him and his friend seen the creature right behind me. And as it threw me backwards, him and his friend unloaded their shotguns into it, using slugs." He was silent after that, and I asked what happened after that. Dad looked at me with the color gone from his face and said that damn thing looked at both of us. These fire-like eyes, spread its wings. It got up off of the ground with blood dripping out of it, and let out this god-awful scream and leaped straight up into the sky, and it flew away. We don't know what the creature was, but I have a feeling it was a creature from our first night at the cabin all those years ago. Since then, Dad has forbid anybody to go there. Even his buddy with the pine tree said he wouldn't be back there ever again. As for Neil, he recovered and is doing well, but I can't say the same for myself. When that creature grabbed my shoulder, It sunk its claws into me. The claw marks are slowly healing, but I have been noticing some changes. My shoulder, I cannot use it as well as I used to. And now it hurts me a lot, and I get a lot of irritation in my shoulders. My dad said as the thing flew away, it barely cleared the treetops and then fell as if an injured bird. Hopefully this thing died, because he said it was gushing blood from the 12-gauge slugs that had entered its body. But is there more out there waiting for revenge? Are they waiting for us to come back to the cabin so that they can get revenge for one of theirs that we took? Well, we will never go back to find out. The cabin now sits empty. Probably a home for them, where they wait for us to come back. But they'll just have to keep waiting, because we're not going back. That's a crazy story, guys, I'll admit. The key not being in the ATV reminded me of Sarah taking the keys with her. That's like something she would do. But as far as the creature dying, I believe it's a good possibility that it died, and I do believe that they seek revenge on people that do hurt and kill them. So staying away from there is probably a great idea. It sounds to me like it knocked him out in the woods, and it was on its way to get her, and hoping to get 2 for 1. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope to see you guys tonight on our live tonight. The fundraiser will be a fun night. My mom's going to be answering and telling a few stories. And we hope everybody shows up. And we look forward to visiting with you guys and having another live. And then Saturday we'll have our normal live. Thank you so much, guys, for the support that you have given. The links are in the description if you would like to help Hunter. And again, thank you each and every one of you. We'll see you on the next one. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. And make sure you always have the keys in your pocket and not Sarah. Thanks for watching, guys.